Stress plays an outsized role in blood sugar regulation, and there are some concrete ways that you can address it. So, when I'm reviewing continuous glucose monitor data for my clients or groups, I often see the effects of stress, both acute and chronic. And that is why I'm going to share a little bit about how stress affects blood sugar and some strategies that you can employ. So, my name is Karen Kennedy. I'm a functional nutritionist specializing in helping people hack their blood sugar using a continuous glucose monitor. And if you like content like this, be sure to click like and subscribe. So sometimes stress is acute. And by acute, I mean it comes on all of a sudden and then it finishes up and goes away pretty quickly. And so this is like when someone has a really difficult conversation or does a little bit of public speaking. And what happens is they get a surge of adrenaline, which is your fight or flight hormone. And to help out your fight or flight, to help you fight, to fuel your muscles, to fuel your brain so you can think or run or fight your way out of the situation, your liver just floods your system with some extra glucose, some lipids to give you the fuel that you need, right? And if you're just sitting there talking on the phone or doing something, it's going to result in your blood sugar going up, but it's transient. And a healthy person can adapt to this and it's not a big deal, but you will see it on a glucose monitor. Some people react more than others. Now, sometimes it's more chronic. And as you can see here in this study, they talk about stress-induced diabetes, and you can see that, blood sugar can rise in response to stress. And in a healthy person, you can adapt to that. But in the long run, it can cause insulin resistance and diabetes. And this is because that chronic stress that goes day after day after day leads to an elevated cortisol. Cortisol is another stress hormone, and cortisol has different impact on your blood sugar. So there's different things going on. And now cortisol, that is a good hormone that you want. It rises in the morning and then it tapers off during the day until it's pretty low at night so you can go to sleep. But the problem is when that cortisol level stays high, you can't sleep. And what you can see here, glucocorticoid, cortisol is a glucocorticoid. And so in that article, they have this great diagram that talks about the effect of chronically high cortisol, and it increases gluconeogenesis. That's the liver's putting out extra glucose for you, in case you need it. Lipogenesis, so it's also putting out more fat. It decreases your muscle uptake of glucose. It reduces beta cell function, so that's your insulin production. Yeah, great. And impaired incretin effect and increased insulin resistance. So these are all the things that chronic stress does to you. So I have seen in real life how chronic and acute stress affects people. I train other providers, other healthcare practitioners, how to use continuous glucose monitors. And as part of that, I will often monitor them on a glucose monitor so they can see how it works. And so, for example, I work with a lot of dietitians and they eat great. They know how to eat to manage their blood sugar, but they've been seeing their blood sugar rise, steadily. And they are doing everything they can. And what we see is that what they eat isn't causing their blood sugar to go up, but their baseline remains high. And what we find out over and over is it's not the food, it's stress and poor sleep. And poor sleep also leads to elevated cortisol and the chronic stress. So, there's a number of steps that you can take and that we have seen actually help people with their blood sugar. And it has to do with some of it with stress reduction and learning to adapt to stress. So, of course, what you're going to see is when you use a continuous glucose monitor, we can see the root cause of stress. And that's going to determine your strategy to reduce stress. For example, if we get the picture that it's poor sleep or obstructive sleep apnea, 100%, you're going to do a sleep study. You're going to address your sleep. That's where you're going to get the most benefit and get better health for it. But if we need some help, if we need some extra supports, these are some interesting studies, just a few examples of the many peer-reviewed studies on adaptogenic herbs. So this is an example of ashwagandha, and ashwagandha being helpful to reduce lipids and glucose. And this also helps in humans. It helps them adapt to stress. That's what an adaptogen means. So people use adaptogens, which are really safe. They use them over the long term, and they help with a lot of things like oxidative stress, blood sugar, cholesterol, lowered cortisol, improved sleep. But I find them sometimes very helpful in managing blood sugar if stress is a component. Here's another example of one of the many studies using cordyceps, which is common in traditional Chinese medicine, in improving blood sugar. And then another one on using holy basil or tulsi, which is more traditional in the Ayurvedic tradition, which helps to improve cortisol levels, improve sleep, blood sugar, and various. So these are all things you can do to improve stress, which then have a knockoff effect of improving blood sugar. So there are other strategies, of course, that you can use besides just taking adaptogens. And, you can combine all of these. For example, pranayama, which is a traditional breathing method. You can also do other box breathing, 4-7-8 breathing. But doing regular breathing practice for a period of time will help manage cortisol levels. Yoga. So one of the strategies I often recommend to my clients with great success is the pose Viparita Karni, which is basically your legs up the wall. You're inverting the body, 10 minutes, maybe put an eye pillow on, and that helps them to improve sleep, lower cortisol, and things like that. And then we also have art making. So they've actually done peer-reviewed studies of visual art making, lowering cortisol, lowering stress. And so these are the kinds of things, maybe it's an evening activity that you do, but these are concrete things, because so often we see people saying, oh, you just need to lower your stress, which is about as helpful as you just need to lose some weight. Yeah. So rather than focusing on, oh, I just need to lower my stress and hope for the best, sometimes it helps to look at the root cause. And that is where we use a continuous glucose monitor. We look and we see what's going on. Is it the food? Is it the timing? Is it your sleep? So that we know where to put your efforts. And if you're interested in that, be sure to check the description. And I've got a free guide you can download on using a continuous glucose monitor. And you can see if that's something you're interested in. But once you nail it down and you realize you do need a little support, these are all things that you can employ, and they could help. And it might not be that you have to go on a ketogenic diet. You might not have to do more fasting, go lower carbohydrate. You might just need to lower your stress. So again, if you like this content, please hit like and subscribe to see more of it. And thank you for watching.